Little children, their times come to play.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Season 2 launch of PubTalkTV. If you are just joining us, PubTalkTV is a conference panel, meets happy hour, and I am one of the two co-hosts. My name is Kelsey Mackey, and I'm the author of the book Damsel Distressed. Usually I'm joined with my co-host, Summer Heacock, but at this time she's with her family for the evening, so filling in for her is our senior token male correspondent, Ted Fox.
Good evening, ladies. We have a very special episode tonight. I am Ted Fox. I'm the author of You Know Who's Awesome, not you specifically, but in a royal you. We do have a special episode for you tonight. I know everyone's been very excited about it. It is a Hocus Pocus themed episode. I just swayed along to all that like I knew what the hell it was about. I've never seen the movie, but I know our agents and Kelsey and a lot of you on Twitter were very excited to be talking about Hocus Pocus tonight. It's also a very special episode because we have a very special guest tonight, Laura Whitaker. She is a editor that has worked at Bloomsbury, HarperCollins, Scholastic, and Month 9 Books, among others. So, Laura, welcome to the PubTalkTV family.
Hey, Laura. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. This is amazing, and especially for the second season debut and a Hocus Pocus episode. It's amazing, and I get to wear a costume and hang out with you lovely people. So thank you so much for having me.
Let's go ahead and go around and introduce ourselves, talk about what we might have to drink, and if we're wearing anything special tonight. I'm sipping on some Dr. Pepper and Bullet, and I just moved yesterday, so I don't have any clothes. So I found a hoodie and rubbed eyeliner on my lips to pretend like I was the 14-year-old version of myself, which was actually pretty horrifying. But my costume's not nearly as cool as some of the ones I see in my little boxes down here. Our guest of honor is Laura. Laura, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're drinking tonight and about your awesome costume?
Sure. I am drinking an excellent glass of Chardonnay from a Virginia vineyard that I just visited recently. A very handsome gentleman gave me a tasting of it, and so therefore I felt that I absolutely had to buy a bottle because he was so cute and very endearing.
A handsome gentleman is always better.
You know, I mean, they get me every time. They really do. I buy far more wine than I should because of a handsome gentleman pouring me glasses of it. But yeah, no, I'm rocking a very cool witch's hat tonight in honor of our Hocus Pocus theme, and a witch's cape, not that I'm showing up very well, and a very cute, sparkly feather boa, so I feel all bedazzled and jeweled and like a good witch who might be a little bit naughty. You don't really know.
What about you, Ted?
Well, I'm definitely not just wearing something that I would normally pull out of my closet. Since I am filling in for summer, I felt it's only appropriate that I am a Red Sox fan, but that I dress as a relief pitcher who is not quite as good as the starting pitcher, but you kind of come in and you throw some junk and you get some out. So I will take the warm-up jacket off now because it is a Red Sox jersey under the jacket as well.
Oh, so professional.
It is very professional. But like I said,
nice.
this is basically just Friday night. This isn't anything special. And like any good reliever who's been in the bullpen a long time, I'm drinking single malt Scotch neat. So
Awesome.
What about our other witches? Monica, look at your beautiful face.
Oh, thank you. I'm Winifred Sanderson, also known as Monica Odom from Bradford Literary Agency. I am here for one night only, about to arrive, and I am drinking something that I made with my agent friends here. What did we do, girls? We put together Applejack and Captain Morgan. Like, you know, like it's college or something. But I have vanilla Coke in mine, which is specific to my drink alone. So, hello.
You're
special. Next.
I suppose I'm Mary S. Anderson, Is it red?
Red.
I'm Jessica Sinsheimer, the Sarah Jane Fryman Literary Agency, and this one over here.
I'm Thackeray Binks. I'm drinking Kitty Punch, which is known as Captain and Coke. And I also go by Roseanne Wells of the Jennifer D. Chiara Literary Agency.
And now it is time to light the black candle.
No, don't light the black candle.
It's from IKEA.
The black flame candle.
No, IKEA sells black light candles.
Sure they
Black
do.
evil
Magic candles. Well, it's on, so it's too late now. Sorry,
Oh,
Kitty.
man.
Sorry.
I was remiss early on too. See, with not being summer, I forgot to mention that Veronica Bartles is also with us on Twitter. She is the Twitter hostess with the mostest.
Yay, Veronica!
The hashtag is hashtag PubTalkTV if you want to talk about the show, but if you have a question specifically for the agents, it's hashtag AskPubTalkTV, and I'll be monitoring both of those throughout the show.
Awesome.
Thank
I
you,
will
Terry.
be answering questions from the inbox. So if you have not spent some time on the PubTalkTV.com website, then please make sure you stop by. You can drop a question there, and we can answer it for you here on the show. So I think I'm going to start with one of the questions from the inbox. This looks like it's one that I think we haven't had before. The question is, I've heard that querying in batches is a good idea, but that querying all your top choices first is not, in case you get feedback that will make your book or query letter better. I always figured I would go for my top choices first, but is this a mistake? Thanks, Clarabelle Ortega.
Yay, Clarabelle.
Hi, Clarabelle.
Hi, Clarabelle.
It's a good question. I feel like, you know, if you've gotten good feedback on your query letter, then you should send it to all your top. Well, okay. To start, you should never send a query letter to someone who you do not want to represent you.
Yeah, that's
Whether
wasting your
it's-
time in there.
Yeah, whether it's your top agent or your third agent or your 100th agent. If it's the 101st and you don't want them, then don't send the query letter because
First.
well,
That's a lot.
there were definitely over 100 agents. But it's sort of like inviting someone to a party, and then when they show up and want to be there, be like, I just wanted you as filler. You know, I just wanted to like fill out my party, and the agent's gonna be like, WTF? I liked your manuscript, but I don't like it anymore. Whether to sort of mix your tops in, I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's kind of a balance, because if you send it to everybody and you get no requests, it probably is your letter. So I would say probably send to a few people you're like, maybe, a few people you're pretty excited about, not your very, very top choice, but a few people you like, and see what happens. And if you start getting a good rate of requests, then go ahead and send it to everybody. Now, the problem, of course, is time, because if enough time goes by, and then somebody has your manuscript and makes an offer on it, it's going to be pretty super awkward to mail your query letter and then, I don't know, wait until the next day and be like, it happened so fast. I have this offer. How did this happen? Can you read it in 5 days?
That's
Yeah.
what
I mean, it's a delicate balance. I would say do a few of each group, like group them into A, B, and C, and do a few of each and try and see. But you shouldn't be sending any letters at all until you've had lots and lots of people look at it and you're really, really happy about it. And I think the biggest mistake people make is that they get frustrated and they're like, I just want it to be done. It's good enough. It's going to be what it's going to be. And then they send it, and as soon as they send it out, they could have just shot all of their chances, and that was it. Like, this is the most important page you're ever going to write. So give it time. I know there's always that, like, you get anxious so you want to do something. Don't give in. Don't give in to that.
I would also add
I
that
think there's always the option to, like,
Monica, go ahead.
go ahead, Laura. Oh, okay.
Oh no, Monica, you go ahead.
it's
I'll go
quickly,
later.
It's always okay. I think you can always do, well, not always, but you could also consider doing like an exclusive round where you're just sending it to like 5 agents maybe that you'd like to work with and who, you know, is looking to work with the type of material you're sending out, and then kind of pay attention to the feedback you get. Like maybe you get 5 passes, but you know, maybe you get some patterns within that feedback, and then enough time will go by that perhaps you could resubmit to those agents after doing revisions or something like that. So it's not just like dumping it all, like putting all your eggs in one basket, if you will.
Yeah, my thought is if you have a good query letter and you get a lot of requests, are you losing by not putting your top agents in that first round?
Well, I think once you start getting a lot of requests, you should send it to everybody.
Yeah.
But just in case, because I can practically feel writers getting confused here. When Monica said exclusive, I don't think she meant like, here, I'm going to send it to you. You're the only person looking at it, and I'm going to wait until you get back to me to send it to anybody else. Because that's, unless they ask for it, that's going to hurt you, and it's going to annoy the agent. Like when I get a thing that's like, oh, hey, you're the only one who's had this for like, 6 weeks, then I just feel bad. I think what Monica means is like smaller, very selective versus like one person. Yes.
Exactly.
Laura, did you have anything to add?
Oh, I was just going to add that if you guys attend your regional SCBWI conferences, you have the opportunity at the end of those conferences to submit essentially a query and a short excerpt to agents and to editors. And we always tend to respond, although it may take us a little bit of time. And based off of the response that we provide, that's a great time and a great opportunity for you guys to see how your pitch letter is coming together and whether or not we immediately jump at it and respond to it in a particular way.
Yeah, I agree with Laura. Use the writing community so that your first round you do get requests. Versus sending it out blindly.
That's great. So we're going to take a question from Twitter now, but before Ted gives you that, we don't know for sure if everyone else can hear sort of a strange humming noise. We think we may have actually picked up on the Sanderson sisters on their flying vacuum or something. It is pretty noisy, so if you do hear that, we're sorry. We're not even sure that you can, but hopefully it's all coming through.
It's a ghost. It's a ghost.
It's probably a ghost. That's true. I have a new house. They're probably in here with me. Ted?
It's the right night for it to happen. It's very there it is right there. It's on brand.
Okay, Ted, tell us what's going on Twitter.
This one comes from Alyssa Dickey, which I think is, I know when I was querying, this was something that I used to wonder about. What might make an agent decide to offer? What's the difference that you're seeing in in something that's been submitted to you that would make you go one route over the other?
Can you repeat that?
I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, we didn't get all of that.
Oh. She was asking what might make an agent decide to offer a revise and resubmit instead of just passing right away.
Decide to offer
an R&R.
Oh, instead of on the manuscript.
Instead of just saying no.
Oh. I think it's more a question of offering an R&R versus saying yes right away. For me, it's how confident I am that that author can take my suggestions and run with them, and actually that we're on the same page. Because sometimes I need kind of a big overhaul, and if that doesn't work, the manuscript in my eye is not going to work. So that, to me, is the difference between an R&R and a yes.
Yeah, and before I do a big plot overhaul or character overhaul, I want to make sure that we work well together. So that we're not, while we're trying to fix the manuscript.
I mean, we're trying to do kind of like a mind meld here. Like, the fact that it works with all of my clients is kind of amazing. Like, I can be like, here is my vision. And they'll be like, yes, this is the vision. And I'll be like, we got it. Yes, good. And then it happens. And you just can't have that relationship with everybody. So you want to find out before you sign them.
That's great.
Laura, do you feel like you have a mind meld with the people you edit?
I do. And I actually have, in several cases, gone back to an agent and an author for a manuscript that I particularly loved in the hopes that I could eventually acquire it. But, I've loved the concept, I've loved the idea. I've seen flashes of brilliance in an author's, execution of the concept and characterization and everything. But there was just something about the manuscript where it wasn't fully ready to go through the editorial process quite yet. I mean, editors of publishing houses, as much as we wish that we had the time to go through, 3, 4, or 5 rounds of edits, most of the time we really only have the time to go through 2, 3, in a special case. And so if we feel like we don't know whether or not you can take care of all of the edits and changes, in the time frame that we need in order to get the book out on time, more often than not, we'll go back to an agent and to you and say, oh my gosh, this is amazing, this is so cool, it's just not ready quite yet. It just needs a little bit more time to cook, and then we give you, a detailed explanation as to like the key points that we would like to see developed further. And then, whenever you've done those revisions, you have an open window and an open opportunity to resubmit to us. And I got to tell you, the authors who do that are always first on my list, in terms of manuscripts and submissions that I read, because it shows me that you are dedicated and committed to the revision process. So it's very exciting when you're willing to do that.
I think that this question goes great with this other one from the inbox. So I'm just going to add this on, and then maybe we can get Monica's thoughts first. Margot Owen wants to know, besides writing itself, what other factors go into your decision to offer representation? So what are some of those other qualities that a writer has to have to be sort of the right fit for you?
Right. I think it depends on if it's fiction or nonfiction, if the writer and project. But I definitely want to know bio. I want to see that it's really helpful when someone kind of lists their credentials, but also some of their hobbies and like stuff they're active in doing, because it's like, oh, this is a three-dimensional human being. And if someone appears interesting to me, it's probably likely it's more likely they'll appear interesting to somebody else as well. And that is especially helpful with nonfiction. But really, I'm looking for like a command of language in the query letter, and I don't know. It's okay if you don't know anything about the industry, but I think having an awareness of your level of knowledge of the industry is helpful. So that way I know how much coaching, I suppose, I'll need to do, and explaining and stuff like that. So that's helpful. And not that it goes either way. It's not that I'm not going to sign you if you have no expertise at all in publishing, but it's just good to know. I don't know. Ladies?
Laura, as an editor, are there any other special qualities that you really like to see in your authors?
I really like to see an author who has some awareness of social media and self-promotion, particularly with middle grade and YA, increasingly more with picture books. But, there's only, I'm sure that you guys have heard this a million times if you've ever been to a conference, but there's only so much that our marketing and publicity teams can do and our sales teams can do for your books, just because we don't have enough manpower and there aren't enough hours in the day. And so, the way that we tend to break it down is, like a good, I would say maybe 60% of your promotion is going to be from you. We are going to provide you with every opportunity that we can. We'll go hard, for bloggers and, on social media and opportunities, to get your book out there. But, to see an author have a command of social media, to already have a following, to already have a blog, interest on Pinterest. I mean, this is such a huge thing for our marketing and publicity team when we're sitting in those acquisitions meetings, and it can really tip the table, in favor of you. When we're making a decision whether or not to acquire a manuscript. I mean, I've seen meetings, I've sat in on acquisitions meetings where, the marketing and publicity team has come in totally against a book, and then, once they hear that the author is this phenomenal self-promoter, they're like, okay, maybe we can make this work, and then they sit down and come up with a marketing and publicity plan, and then we go from there. But it actually matters significantly more than you guys realize, because we want to see that you're participating in the community, this wonderful, vibrant, beautiful, brilliant community. And the fact that you're engaging in PubTalkTV, huge points in your favor. I mean, this is clearly one of the coolest communities out there in publishing, and you're dealing with like the coolest agents and people in the world. So, I mean, you guys already get 2 thumbs up, but you should never be afraid to talk about what you can bring to the table. Just like in any job interview, it's about what you can do, for the publishing house and for your editor and for your marketing and publicity and sales team, in the sense of showing that you've got chutzpah and that you're willing to put yourself out there for your book and fight for it.
There was
Great
something
points.
we were talking about on Twitter recently too. I don't understand why anyone would bring up anything in their pitch that you wouldn't bring up in a job interview. Mm-hmm. So I see things all the time, like, as you know, I've received shirtless selfies in my inbox. I've received people's things that, just detail all of the crimes they have committed. Like, these are not things that you want to lead with.
Their medical history, like, I was stuck in a hospital for 24 months, and I wrote this novel while I was. I'm like, oh God. Like,
yeah,
that's what I want to know when I have the phone call with you.
I
want to make
maybe
sure
not the first phone call.
Well, yeah. I want to make sure I can sell your book before I get to know you.
But I think we just want the complete package. We want you to be a real person, a vibrant person, an interesting person. We also want you to be a professional. And another thing that was brought up today, some people are afraid to mention in their query that they know us on Twitter. I think you should. I like to know that, because to me, Twitter is networking. Mm-hmm. Like, take some credit for your work here. Twitter is networking. It's a very effective networking tool. Do a good job. Realize we're looking at your feed. Don't advertise things that, again, you wouldn't advertise in a job interview on your Twitter feed. Don't talk about your anger problem. Don't talk about how much you're drinking. Like, just try to be a good person online all the time, because you have no idea who's reading that.
Sarah who's a agent with Bradford Literary Agency,
like Monica.
Monica's co-agent. Always says that Twitter is like a cocktail party. Mm-hmm. You want to be professional, but you want to go home before you get too drunk.
That's Sarah.
The other thing I was going to add to that was, I can vouch for that. Like Kelsey, I am one of Jessica's clients, and that was how I first started interacting with her, was over Twitter. And then in my initial query, I referenced the fact this is that guy from Twitter. So that does indeed work. This conversation, I feel like, ties into one that we just got asked by Roseanne Foster. The ghost comes whenever I talk, so I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
Sorry, the ghost train is.
The ghost train is very loud.
The ghost train is in Indiana, I think. Roseanne Foster.
Talking over Ted.
Yeah.
You noticed this.
Maybe Ted is a ghost.
Maybe Ted is a ghost.
Oh my gosh, I signed a ghost. Ted, you should disclose that.
I definitely
either that or we might have.
Tell us.
Yeah. Hey, have you guys seen Bed Locks lately? Do we even know if he's still alive?
I don't know. Maybe Bed Locks is haunting this episode of PubTalkTV.
The subject of How to Get Away with Murder Season 3 is what happened to Bed Locks.
Okay, Ted, take it away.
So the question that Roseanne Foster had, speaking of queries and bringing up information, she's asking, so should I definitely then bring up that I do work in marketing in my day job in a query?
Oh, yeah.
Anytime you have a cool day job that somehow relates to your work, bring that up. Even if you just have a cool job that does not relate to your work, I want to hear about it.
Yeah. Because we want to get to know you.
And I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah. You can do science.
And you're a writer. That's amazing.
You have a good brain.
Yeah.
Good brain.
Good brain.
Okay, so I've got another question from the inbox, and I think that this one is going to be, it looks like there's two questions that are related, so I'm going to tie them together. We have Adana Washington, who has a question about her young adult urban fantasy novel, and that she said that she feels like she's a little bit under the word count that is like sort of typically listed as like the norm for this genre. And then there was also a question from a reader or viewer named Afton, who sort of says the same thing. She's writing a middle grade, and she feels like she's kind of at the low end of what's normally like sort of listed as the acceptable word count. So how important is like this sort of standard online that you can search word count? And is that a deal breaker if you're under that average?
Monica, what do you think?
What do I
personally?
How do you feel about word count? Does it influence you? Is it points against? Or are you not really paying attention to word count?
Who is that question for? personally, I don't pay attention to word count. Like, I'm not going to read something that's, like, insanely long, but, and I don't do a lot of genre-specific stuff, so that could be a part of it, but I don't pay attention to word count, actually. I don't know if that's crazy. Is that crazy?
I think it's crazy.
You, Monica. You do.
If you've ever read a really awesome book that's like super short, then you know that sometimes it's not about how long it is. If it's amazing, right? I mean, isn't that sort of the standard thing that most industry people say? If it's amazing, one-of-a-kind, incredible storytelling, does that trump word count?
Yes,
right.
it's rare
And
to
like a
find that.
900-page book,
Yeah.
a $2 million book deal, right? Like 900-something pages. So, and then there are like 180-page books that do amazing. So, but I'm thinking more of the adult world. So, ladies, if you have something to share about children's, go for it.
I think it depends how far you are from the norm.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're like 50% off, that's a lot. If you're 10% off, I think you're probably okay. Yeah, I mean,
There are also word count ranges because, you know, if you're an urban fantasy, you're in the fantasy genre and you need to build an entire new world, and so you're allowed to have more word count because of that fantasy building. If it's realistic, that's why it might be a little bit shorter. If you're concerned that your book is more the length of a realistic book, you might want to look at your world building and see, can I go deeper? Can I go further? Mostly when I see that people are very, very low under the word count, it's because there aren't enough obstacles. It's that it's really more of a novella and there just isn't enough plot points to get to that higher word count. I mean, of course, you want to pay attention to character and the stakes, and world building is a big thing for me. But mostly when I see, you know, or YA fantasy or something in a genre that's severely anemic in word count, it's because they're missing the third act or the second act. You know, it just wraps up a little too quickly.
but if it works and the word count is off, I won't care. If it doesn't work and the word count is off, that's bad. Most of the time I'm not like managing, like, oh, this is 80,000 words, and then reading it. I read too many things. I can't keep track of what word count is what. I just read it, I see if it works, and then if it seems really long or seems really short, then I'll check.
I'll usually put it in the back of my mind, like, oh, this is in the acceptable range. Usually I'll notice if it's really long or really short. If it's like a 20,000 word YA, I'm like, where is this?
Oh yeah, that's so far off.
But if it's a middle grade, that's like, you know, that's maybe
Short.
a little shy of realistic, but not, I mean, especially for an early middle grade.
It's small.
It's small, but not terribly small. It's not like a picture book. It's not like 1,000 words.
What's going on Twitter right now?
This is a question I ferreted a while ago that I'm not. She's just on there as L on Twitter, but I feel like this is something I remember kind of thinking through, and I'd be interested to see what your answer is to this. And this ghost, man, he knows it's me. If the submission guidelines for an agent say they want the first 10 pages, but the hook of your story is on page 13, as an example, do you stop at 10? Do you trim it? Do you send 13? Should your hook be sooner? What's the advice there?
Well, you have to hook your reader from page 1. Even though if it's not the hook of the book, it has to propel the reader to read more. An agent can ask for 1 page, theoretically, and you have to be able to give it to them.
I feel like 13 is a weird place to put the hook, though. I feel like you're either going to have a lot of action. I feel like you're going to have a lot of action at the beginning. Is that like nothing, stuff happens? like that's a little bit strange. I don't know. I personally wouldn't care if someone went a few pages over, but I'm not, again, counting.
I'm not counting, yeah.
Some people probably are, though.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold it against someone if... So, okay, let me put it this way. I've had someone say, like, oh, I know you request the first 10 pages. The first chapter ends on page 15. So I've sent the first 15 pages. And, like, if I don't want to read the extra 5, I just won't read them. But as long as you're not sending, like, double what I asked or something like that, like, if you have a logical reason, and honestly, it's nice when you mention it instead of just assuming I'll read it. And then if you mention it also with, like, a reason, it shows that you, like, read my submission guidelines and you saw I asked for 10 pages, but you have a reason why you're including these extra pages. And I don't know, it's kind of like a logistic, and I understand why writers would get wrapped up in these logistics, because some people have, like, their nitpicky things, but I don't get wrapped up in that type of logistic, I suppose. That logistic
reminds me a little bit when you were talking earlier, Monica, and I was thinking this when you were talking about with someone who maybe doesn't know a lot about the industry, but kind of being sincere and owning, like, this is my level of knowledge. I've always kind of felt exactly what you're talking about there is, okay, maybe I couldn't do it in exactly 10, but I'm at least going to acknowledge that I can read rules, and this is why I'm trying to do something a little bit different and kind of own that piece of knowledge.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a huge correlation between knowing the rules and bothering to learn said rules and doing well. I mean, it's the people who just completely, like, have no, like, don't have any idea what we want, don't care to know, call us up during the day and interrupt stuff, show up at the office. Like, those people are never, ever, ever pitching anything good because they don't care. They're just in their own world of, like, this is the next bestseller. I am at your door. You will have this. Yeah, you know.
That's true. If I got one good project in any form of that, I would be astonished.
Yeah, as soon as you see that someone hasn't paid attention to the rules, you can tell that they're not very serious. And usually the people who are serious are the people who've been doing this a long time and therefore have gotten better, and then are the people who are better at writing in your inbox.
Or they're the people that are like, I'm going to break all the rules. Publishing hasn't seen anything until they've seen me. And I'm like, yeah, I see 100 of you a day.
Yeah, and if you're talking smack about the industry you're trying to join, that's not a good look.
You know, and like
Jinx.
Cat punch.
What?
Okay, so I have another question. This is from the inbox from Lauren Orbison, and it looks like, again, it's so funny. I was telling the girls before we started that the questions in the inbox are often much longer, so excuse my paraphrasing. But it looks like this writer wrote an essay on her blog about a year ago when she made the decision to self-publish a project for a specific reason. And now she's working on some other projects, and she's, you know, looking for a traditional publisher for these projects. And she's concerned that this blog post exists about the reason that she chose to self-publish something once before. Is this something that she should worry about having, you know, on her blog? Is this the kind of thing that, you know, an acquisitions team or something could find and then say, oh, she doesn't want a publisher, she did this one on her own, you know, we cast her out? Laura, I am dying to hear your point of view on this. What do you think? Is this something that she needs to quickly delete, or is this something that is not a big deal? Every project is its own thing. And you are muted, don't forget. There you go.
Okay, I hope that helped with the ghost.
I think it did.
Good. Okay, so I will mute any time that I'm not talking. I'm so sorry, anyone. The ghost, it's me.
You can still blame it. You can still blame it on me. It's fine. Blame it on me. It's fine. It's fine.
So what I would say to you is that, you know, editors really only look at what you post on, or what you put on your letter. So if you don't actively advertise that you self-publish, we don't have the time to go through every single blog post that you've ever posted, or, you know, check to see how a prior publication of yours has sold on Amazon. I mean, we do actively check prior publications that you or your agent mention in your query letter. I mean, we'll go on BookScan and check how your book sold and into what, you know, what different, you know, special markets, you know, if it was like a really big draw, you know, for like, I don't know, anthropology, and it just happened to be like a really big book there. Sorry, I love anthropology. I wish I could afford more clothes there, but I can't. We don't make a lot in publishing. I wish we did. But, you know, it's not something that we actively look at unless it's something that you actively advertise. I mean, you have to once again remember that your query letter, your pitch letter, is your calling card. It is your job, interview. And so if you don't mention something, we aren't actively going to go digging into your past. So I wouldn't worry about taking it down. However, if you did self-publish a book and it sold 15, 20, 30,000 copies, on your own, and has become this big independent thing, do mention that. I mean, that's phenomenal. That shows that your story has a pre-established market. I mean, I hate to bring this up, but that's how 50 Shades of Grey, became the phenomenon that it is. And it's just a reality. So, be proud if you've written something that an agent or an editor has not picked up yet, but it's doing exceptionally well. Don't hold back. I mean, we're always happy and excited to jump on the money train when we can. We really are. And I mean, to specifically use an example from children's literature, I mean, the Pete the Cat was, the Pete the Cat was discovered at a merchandising, trade show in Las Vegas, and so, Harper brought in the author and, the owner of that one image that was doing exceptionally well and had this pre-established market that Harper just then capitalized on. So, it's don't be afraid to toot your own horn if you've self-published something that's awesome, but you feel it's weird, then we will never know. We will never know.
I feel like if you had very good reasons for self-publishing that, own it. Those were your reasons, and your reasons are allowed to change. Maybe do an update on that blog post, or do a new blog post and say, this was my experience self-publishing. For this project, I'm going to go try and find a traditional publisher. And I think that's, you're not being dishonest, and you're not invalidating all the work that you did as a self-publisher, which is a lot of work.
Well, I think you should be a little bit careful about a few things. Like, there's tone, right? If you are saying, I'm self-publishing because traditional publishing is horrible, which I don't think you would, but just in case you did, this is not ideal.
Or I failed at self-publishing, so
yeah,
try in the traditional route.
It's hard. If you're like, I'm going into self-publishing because nobody wanted this book, they all said I couldn't write. You don't want to put that up there. Yeah. If you sold maybe 3 copies of your self-published book, that's not good either. You're going to have to disclose that to be an honest person, but you don't want to draw attention to that either. You're not going to want to be like, look at this book, it totally tanked, and this is why I want to traditionally publish now. Like, look at me, I have a failed book, therefore you want no. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, won't find it if it's older, but anything on the internet can be found. Like, Google yourself, see if it comes up. I
don't want to find that skeleton, speaking of Halloween, in your closet later when we're trying to negotiate a deal or something, and they're like, oh, well, did you know about this really, project that failed from 1997? And I was like, yeah, self-publishing in 1997? What?
Well, yeah, you mean different, but sure.
But but you know what I mean. Like, I don't want to discover after the fact. It's like Olivia Pope. You have to tell me everything.
Oh, I was going to go with How to Get Away with Murder, because, like, it was when you're in the courtroom, but
Shondaland.
Sure. Yeah, Shondaland.
Yeah.
Shondaland is alive and well in Indiana. That's Thursday. I can't get on the Grey's Anatomy thing, but those second 2 hours, that's Thursday nights. That's screwed out for that. Is it okay if I do a Twitter question, Kelsey?
Please.
This comes from Kara. Great handle, @CoffeeIsLove, obviously.
Yeah.
How soon is too soon to send a book to an agent who rejected me recently? Should I wait a year or 6 months to send a new book? So she has a new book. She's been rejected on a previous book. how long should she wait before going back to the same agents?
I think that's a little long, actually.
Yeah.
Don't hit reply. So like I have many form letters, as a lot of people know. One of them says, "I would like to see your next project." So many people, I should figure out how many people do this all the time. So many people hit reply and they're like, "Great, here's my next project." And the funny thing is, because I use Gmail tags, it shows up as rejected in my inbox. And so I'm like, wait, something I rejected is coming back. They're probably just saying thank you. I look at it, it's something new. Then I have to take all the tags off, and then I'm like, what is going on here? And then it's something new, and do you have like a million of these manuscripts? When I say that, I mean work on your writing a little bit more. You know, keep writing, and you will probably create something wonderful. I don't mean send me that old thing nobody else wanted. So I think just provide that illusion of having learned a little bit more. I don't know, 3 months, 2 months, a month?
I don't know if you'll agree, Monica, but I think it's more of a feeling. You know, you want to feel like this manuscript has reached its potential and then start on the next one. And if you send one, you know, immediately after or 2 weeks after or 6 weeks after, I don't know if I'm going to feel confident that you've left that project on the shelf and are ready for the next one.
Yeah, I want something in the future, something you have written in between. I don't want something old. I want something you have worked on because you were always growing and evolving as a person. I want to watch that process, and I want to see the next step. Oh.
Grow.
I'm from California.
I am too.
I know, that's why I said it.
I think this extends really well. I'm going to just add this other question in so you guys can keep talking about this because I think you guys are on a roll. This was an anonymous question in the inbox, and it was about going to a conference and thinking that the project that you brought with you is ready. And then, of course, you go to the conference and you learn and you feel like, oh, I could do so much more with my project. But maybe you got a pitch session and maybe the agent or the editor said, yeah, send it. I want to see it. And now you're like, oh, my gosh, but I need to work on this. There's so many things that I could do to improve it. Is there a time limit on that? I mean, do you mind waiting if someone wants to go back and make it better before they send it to you? What do you think? Rosie, what do you think?
I don't mind as long as you tell me, because I'm not keeping track in my brain of, you know, which manuscript I requested from which conference. I'm depending on you to send me that manuscript if I ask for it. And if you just send me an email that says, you know, I got some great feedback, I'm going to send it to you when I do a quick revision incorporating that feedback, I'm going to be like, great, they were paying attention at the conference. Awesome. Monica, do you feel like there's a time limit? Do you want to, you know, not see it after a year or 6 months or?
I totally agree with your point about, I love it when they do send me the email that's like, hey, I know you requested this. I did get some other great feedback, and I'm going to work on that and then get it back to you. That also shows to me, like, oh, okay, there was a reason why you were there also, and I appreciate someone getting it into, like, tip-top shape before they send it to me. I do think that you want to be aware of, like, so there's, you know, a book that is, it sounds great, oh my god, like that plot is timeless, this is amazing, and then there are books that are like, this is going to work for like the next year, and then this market's going to be saturated, so if you don't get this out and I don't get this out, then, you know, then it's kind of like, so like, obviously nonfiction type stuff, but you know, even with the genres, there's certain trends that happen, and if you get in on the tail end of a trend, it could have an effect on your manuscript that has nothing to do with the quality of the manuscript. So that's like an instance when I would say, like, oh, I would maybe reply and say, thanks, really looking forward to it, but FYI, you know, you might want to get it in sooner rather than later for, you know, reasons X, Y, Z.
Agreed. I think you cover your bases if you're like, I will send it in X number of weeks because of feedback, and then it'll be like, you can take feedback. Yes.
I think I just wiped my nose off on my hand.
Your nose is still there.
So I'm going to tell you guys a little secret. So most folks tend to query agents and editors right after the conference happens. So within a week, we get the largest number of, you know, post-conference submissions a week after the conference has happened. We actually don't start looking in most situations, what you've sent to us for about 3 to 4 weeks. And so if you wait a month before you send your submission, you have a significantly higher chance of actually getting an editor to take a look at what you've written. Because then it's fresh. We tend to look at the submissions that have come in most recently first. Sometimes we start from the beginning and then go to the most recent ones, but more often than not, we look at the most recent 5 that have come in just to get an idea of like what kind of material is coming in. So if you actually take that month to revise and to work on your submission and to make it the strongest that it can possibly be, you're actually doing yourself a favor on multiple points. Because you are, number one, not sending your manuscript along with everybody else, and then we don't feel like we're getting it in this court, and so it's not lost. And number two, you've given yourself the opportunity to show us that you've taken that time to think about your manuscript and revise it and put thought into it, and even saying as much, in your email to an editor, to an agent, to say, hey, I wanted to take this month, to really go through and go through my manuscript with a fine-tooth comb, and make sure that it's as good as it could possibly be. I mean, it's just saying that alone, is such a beautiful thing for us to read and to see and to hear about. So I would say, really, as a rule, wait a month. Don't just send off your submission. I mean, like within a week. I mean, right away. You can do that, but waiting a month is not going to hurt you at all. And believe you me, I have followed up with authors who I've met at conferences whose material I wanted to acquire right away. Like, I've gone back to my desk and written them an email the next day. So if we really are that actively interested in acquiring your work right away, we will make it happen. It's like that movie. He's just not that into you. Like, if we want it to happen, we will make it happen. We will find you. Believe you me.
I think Laura's a little more organized than I am. I lose everybody's business card, like, without fail.
I don't take business cards at conference.
People give them to me, and I'm like, what? Who? No. What? Why?
I have a no paper policy.
This is a mind meld moment once again. Like, I was just prepping to say something about business cards. I love it. So I'm going to try something new. I'm going to ask the question, and I'm going to ask you to say one answer or the other. So the question is, should the writers invest in having business cards printed? Your options are yes, I want a business card, or no, save your money. Rosie.
No, save your money.
Jessica.
Oh, that's a hard one because I always am on the. Sorry, I know.
No,
I can't decide. I can't decide.
I'm gonna give you my business card, and it's your job to follow up with me.
I always find it's more helpful to be the person who receives the business card from someone who's interesting, and/or take notes in your notes app, and then you follow up. Almost no one follows up within 48 hours. If you do, you're in the top 10%. You absolutely should. I mean, if you have the money, go for it. But I hate asking authors to spend money on anything. I really do.
Why it doesn't do anything for me.
But for networking with other authors, they could be your critique partner.
I have business cards, but as another author, even at conferences when there are other authors and they're like, we're networking with each other, even then, it's kind of like, what am I going to do with this piece of paper? How does this fit into my iPhone? I don't know where it goes. There's no slot.
T-Rex that doesn't have paper.
I mean, if it's a financial stretch, don't do it.
Okay, Monica, invest in business cards or save your money?
I agree with Rosie. I prefer to give out my card, and then actually what is more of a presence for me in my life is not a business card, but an email from you after I gave you my business card, because then it sits there in my inbox until I fucking answer it. And like literally, that's what I'm visually
reciprocating, and then you have to respond back to me, in my opinion.
Well, once it's in the system, that's really useful. But think how many agents you have to keep track of. I don't know, not that many. Think how many manuscripts we have to keep track of. Lots. So it's kind of, I don't know. You've got to manage your own.
Laura, do you have a big thought on business cards? Is this something that happens to you?
I will keep it very simple and say if you're an author, no business cards. If you're an illustrator, 100%, you better darn well hand me a business card with your illustrations on it so that I can remember you and take your illustration card back with me to my art director to keep in our portfolio.
Awesome.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
Also,
Laura, would you prefer a postcard?
Oh, those are nice.
Or like, because a postcard will be a better illustration.
I prefer postcard, and I prefer for you to have at least 5 different varieties of postcards that I could bring back. 1 is not enough. 3 is okay, but 5 is preferred because 5 really does show that, show the variation and the breadth of your illustrative style and capabilities. So
yeah.
And please make sure, if you're an illustrator, please have your own website. If you don't, I mean, that's a huge red flag for us. Huge. And if you're an author, I would say really try and have a Tumblr account or a blog account, that you are actively contributing to every day. Or let me rephrase that. Every day is a lot. I would make sure that you were on Twitter every day, but I would say maybe 1 blog post a week. Even if it's just a paragraph, because it just shows, that you are actively trying. I mean, again, your query letter is like, I feel like I keep saying this, your query letter is like your job, your job application, and, your Tumblr and your Facebook are just extra, they're extra references that we can go to. So, why not make them as shiny and as beautiful as you possibly can? And it sounds like a lot of work, I know, but really, just you're writing, every day or once a week or once a month. Every time you sit down and you work on your manuscript, just type up a little thing for your blog or post on Twitter or do something, make it synonymous with one another. Just in the reality of publishing houses today, you have to be this person of all trades, and so we want to get an idea of your personality and your capabilities as an author, because we aren't looking to just, ideally, I mean, the kind of editor that I am, I mean, I'm not just looking to have one book with you. I'm looking to take you on for hopefully a career and have that lifelong relationship and that lifelong commitment, to working together, and you can have that relationship with multiple editors and multiple houses. But if you aren't actively putting in the work right from the get-go, we don't get an idea of who you are and what you're capable of. So it's kind of like dating. Like online dating. Think of your blog as like your eHarmony or your Match.com profile.
Right.
This is who I am. Long walks on the beach and fireside chats and everything.
Selfies.
No shirtless photos.
Ooh.
Ted, what's going on over on Twitter? Any questions? We're at about almost just under 10 minutes left in this episode.
Well, I have one that's my own that I'm going to wait to ask Laura till we're offline because I don't want to take the viewers' time with that. But it's very great conversation. She's dropping some great knowledge, so I'm glad everyone's seeing this.
Yay, Laura! To Laura!
Yay!
I think this is an interesting. This comes from Roseanne Foster again, and normally I wouldn't go back to the same person for a second question, but I feel like we've hit on this in season 1, maybe at times, but several friends are asking her to start a book review blog. Is that a bad thing for an author to do? Does that hurt an author if they're on there reviewing other people's books, presumably reviewing them honestly, and some are going to be positive reviews and some are not going to be as positive, I would guess?
I can start off by taking this one. I will say that another thing that we often look at, as part of the acquisitions process, is your connections within the industry, because blurbs, whether we have to go out for them. I think that I think it's still up in the air as to whether or not they actually make a tremendous difference in the sales for a book, but they're definitely something that our sales team continues to encourage us, strongly encourage us to have, especially, particularly for a middle grade in YA. And so that's part of our jobs as editors to go out for blurbs at the appropriate time for ARCs. So if we know that you are already connected and good friends with people in the industry, perhaps, of somebody's book who you've reviewed and that has spiraled into, a great relationship, a great friendship. They know who you are. They're willing. You reviewed their book and it was wonderful, and so they feel a kinship with you. It's a great thing for us to know. And so I would say take any opportunity that you can to make connections within this industry and foster them and grow them. Like the little plants, that you have on your windowsill. And so I say do it. Go for it. And, keep track of, the people who you feel comfortable approaching, once your book is actually being submitted, and it's going to an acquisitions meeting, because I've seen projects brought in just on the promise. They're like proposals, and they've been brought in by the promise of a blurb from J.K. Rowling or John Green, and people who are a little pickier with their blurbs. So not that we all have those connections, but particularly if it's a house author who we love, and they're pushing for your book to be acquired, and that you already have a blurb from them ready to go as part of your acquisitions proposal. It makes a huge difference.
That's great.
Do it. Go for fun.
I would say that be careful not to go around trashing everybody.
Yeah.
Don't hate everybody. That's not going to help you. Think about building connections versus burning bridges.
Yeah. I don't think if you want to make it a positive only blog, I think that's fine. If you want to be a little more honest, I think that's fine. But, don't take your frustrations in your own writing journey out on other authors. Don't trash what other authors have been able to accomplish, because we're trying to build a community, and if we are tearing people down, that's not community building, and that doesn't make you look good, and it hurts their feelings, and it doesn't accomplish anything.
It's kind of a risky thing to do, to go out there and be like, this author wrote a terrible book. If you're looking for a theme for your site, I don't know if reviewing books honestly is necessarily the best choice. If there are other themes on the table, I might go a different direction. I would just be concerned, because you never know if you're going to trash a book and then your book is going to be submitted to acquisitions and the editor's like, well, she hated my other project, so no. You never know how that's going to end.
Yeah.
That is an excellent, excellent point. Thank you for saying that. I 2 thumbs up. Guys,
if someone trashed one of my clients' books, I would probably not want to take them on. Just saying. And maybe they have really good reasons. Maybe they have really good. I don't know if I could get over that. It would be an uphill battle. I would say that. Yes, maybe I'm petty. But it would not be a point in their favor.
I also think
it wonders who they are too.
Oh,
because if you're like, maybe you started reviewing for like a really good site or something like that, and not just your own site. Or maybe you have really good credentials, and there's a reason for me to take you seriously. But if you're just a writer, not that just a writer, being a writer is amazing. But if you're a writer who wants to just kind of have an online presence in the bookish world, reviews might not be the best thing. Maybe like thought pieces, or like, I don't know, dissecting it, like an English paper. Go ahead, Ted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I'll engage in some
more nuanced than just trash. There's obviously some reason, some market why this book was published.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ted, I just talked over you like you were.
Oh, no, it's...
He is a ghost.
In your role as senior token mail correspondent, you know when to stand down, so... All I was going to say is I was going to engage in some relevant self-promotion. I haven't been doing this feature regularly anymore, but one thing I've done on my site for a couple years was 50 words or less-ish Fridays. Jessica has been a guest on there. And Summer kind of gave me the idea for this, where it wasn't just people in publishing, but it would be media people, things like that, where I would ask them something about their jobs and write a little piece about them. So I wasn't necessarily reviewing their work, but it was still a way to build connections with people in the industry and give people visiting my site an interesting piece of content that wasn't just about something I was writing. So I think there's a way to engage with people about their work without necessarily passing judgment on their work, and to kind of show your appreciation for them coming on your site in the first place.
And another comment from the Peanut Gallery, Ted and I are finally saying our piece. I'm a collaborative writer. Like, I mean, everything I do, I want it to be a collaboration. I don't really have any interest in putting out a book that's just me and like only what I think. And everything that I want to work on, I want to work on it with my agent and with my editor and with, you know, a team of people who have a vision for like what this should be and how it should look and how it should feel and how it should come across. And so you can't insult or critique a piece of writing and just sort of like say, oh, this author's book was trash or whatever. Not that that's how anyone would really say it. Well, I guess some people do. But anyway, you're not just insulting one person. You're potentially insulting a team of people who've worked really hard to put out a quality product. And so I feel like sometimes reviews can be very sort of small-minded in that way, where it looks like, oh, I just didn't like this writer's thing, and it's like, well, it's not just a writer, you know, it's a creative team, it's a collaborative team that's worked on this project together, and you never know, like you guys were saying, you never know who's also being insulted. It's not necessarily just the author you're talking about. It could be about any other number of people. Let's see, I have a question from the inbox, and then we'll probably wrap it up, unless you guys want to go ahead and cut us off. You want to do one more?
One more, yeah.
All right, awesome.
One more. Last call.
One more. Okay. So this one actually.
What cat juice? This is a blended cat.
Ew.
Gross. Furry.
No, it's like what cats drink.
I wasn't going to take any questions from Twitter, but this one just caught my eye, Ted, so I'm already stepping on your toes. Man, you just can't get any respect. You just can't get any respect. So this is a question from Lorian, and it's just about standing out in contests. And we've had several questions in the inbox about contests and how there's so many, and sometimes agents see the same queries over and over, and sometimes that gets kind of a bad rap. How do you stand out in contests? What are some things that you look for in all these great Twitter and querying contests that are happening now? Let's see. Jessica, why don't you start us off?
Other than good writing, I mean, I think it's the same thing every time. I know that's so boring. It's like, write well. Yes, of course, obviously. The concept, if it's an amazing, amazing concept, I feel like a lot of contests will highlight that versus the bulk of your work. You know, sometimes it's like, if it's 140 characters, there's your concept. You know, if it's just your 250 words, there's your concept. I feel like a lot of the concept people win there versus the people who have a work that builds over lots and lots of pages.
Right, but they don't give you lots of pages.
They don't give you lots of pages, so it tends to benefit a certain kind of writing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying change yourself. I'm just saying contests are good for people who it's very obvious right away what they're doing. And that's one kind of writing. That's one kind of great writing. But again, so boring. Great writing. It always wins.
What about you, Rosie?
I'm looking for something fresh. You know, sort of same thing that I'm looking for in a query.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just don't get to read quite as many pages.
Yeah.
And I tend to want to say yes to contest entries. Mm-hmm. So that I don't look like the jerk who doesn't like any of those contests.
That's true. That's true. You don't want to be that person.
So sometimes I'll request very generously when I am judging a contest.
Then again, getting a request when you wouldn't have gotten one does not mean you're going to get an offer of representation. I mean, it's going to end up the same anyway. Like, yes, there will be more people getting a request. That doesn't mean more people will be getting offers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on after the contest.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, I hope people know this. When we go in, we're like, please be good, please be good. I can't even tell you how many times last week I saw these amazing queries, and I was like, oh my gosh, please be good sample pages. And 2 of them were terrible, and I was like, no! It's a different skill. We know this is a different skill, which is why we're like praying versus like, of course it'll be good. It'll be amazing. It's gonna be the best thing ever. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Monica, what do you think?
I think the nice thing about the contests is that it's not just like me going into my inbox and being like, I'm going to plug away at some queries now. It's me actively saying, like, I want to go search and hunt for some things. So you're like automatically bringing a different mindset to it, which I think changes your perspective of like how you're gonna, like, are you gonna be more positive, or you know, it's just like a different dynamic when you're the one as an agent who's like kind of picking and choosing from a pile. And with that said, it's a little, I think, kind of easier to catch my attention because the contests are forcing you to be succinct, which is nice, but also it's less likely that I will have just read 100 emails of queries within the same time frame. So there isn't something specific I look for that I think would be strengthening. I just think doing the contests are really a great way to get outside of just someone's query inbox.
There's also the factor that you know there are these other agents, you know who they are, you know they are reading the same thing at the same time. So I personally will be like, oh yeah, well I'm going to read it first. You know, like, oh no, it kind of gets you to be like, everyone else wants it. Okay, well, you know what the stakes are. In your inbox, you have no idea. For all you know, you're like round 40. But like in this case, you know what's going on. You know everyone else is looking at it. And if you find something amazing, you know everyone else has seen it too.
And I do appreciate contests because I know that they are curated. You know, they're not putting up every entry. And I'm friends with a lot of people who curate these contests, or we become friends because I get invited to do these contests. And I appreciate their opinion that these are the best, and so I do feel more likely to request. I actually signed a client because she asked me to be on her blog, and then she asked me to be part of a contest, and then she said, oh, by the way, I have this manuscript, and I was like, yes, I want to read it, because I know that she's thinking as an industry professional and as a writer.
Mm-hmm. We like that. I like how you did the paw thing.
Yeah, it was good.
I mean, cat.
Laura, before we close for the evening, do you have any other final remarks? How have you found your guest stint on PubTalkTV tonight? Oh, you're muted.
Oh, there we go. I was like, wait, I have to unmute myself. I have just had so much fun tonight. This has been amazing, you guys. Thank you so much for having me. I would say, just as a final parting word, to all of you authors and illustrators who are watching tonight, please do not give up on yourselves. I mean, I know, we all know that this is such a tremendously challenging, heartbreaking at times, exhilarating at others, journey that you're on. But we're here, we're all in this industry because we love it, and we love what we do. I mean, everybody who's on this panel tonight genuinely loves what they do, and so, never be afraid to fight for your dreams and to keep trying, because the right agent, the right editor, the right publishing house, the right opportunity for your story and for you, is out there. So please don't give up. I know that it can be a long road, and you can look at, other people's journeys and think that, oh my gosh, that was so easy, and they got a book deal so quickly, and, it happens, but more often than not, it doesn't. So don't give up. Keep going and following people on Twitter. Keep engaging in conversations about literature. You guys are artists. You were put on this earth to do exactly what you're doing. So have faith in yourselves, have faith in the community, and don't give up, because you guys are all fabulous and wonderful. And I hope to see some of your work someday.
Yay! Thank you so much for that, Laura. I think that I'm going to go ahead and close us off. On behalf of myself, Kelsey, and Ted, thank you so much for filling in. And Summer, who's not with us tonight, and Rosie and Jessica and Monica. We thank you so much for watching this night's episode of Pub Talk TV, and we hope you have a happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween!